So someone else sent me this that he saw from a forum called Quora, I think. And it was posted by maybe a Theravada Buddhist monk. Are teachings of Pure Land Buddhism at odds with mainstream Buddhism? So that's what maybe this Theravada Buddhist monk post. And then he wrote like a really, really long post about, yes, why Pure Land Buddhism is at odds with mainstream Buddhism. And by mainstream Buddhism, he refers to as Theravada Buddhism. And in this long post, so I had like a quick read, he basically assumed the answers to a few questions based on his level of perceptions and understandings on the Pure Land Dharma, like such as, isn't the Pure Land just sounds like another heaven? How come it's so easy to go to the Pure Land if it's created by the Buddha? Isn't life in the Pure Land also like there is old age, sickness, death? So all this like commonly misunderstood questions for those who have not actually studied the Pure Land Dharma, and he also acknowledged in his post that he had not studied. A lot of this I have already answered in my videos, but I thought, okay, I'll just give a quick summary on this as well. So first of all, what is mainstream Buddhism? This is actually arguable. For those in countries like Thailand, Cambodia, all these Theravada countries, of course, to them, mainstream Buddhism is Theravada Buddhism. However, in China, in Japan, in Vietnam, in other countries, we do not consider it as mainstream Buddhism. Or even in the West, like Chan or Zen. Zen is really big in the West. So it's Tibetan Buddhism, all this fall into the Mahayana domain. In China, definitely, Zen and Pure Land is mainstream Buddhism. In fact, Pure Land is number one. And just think about how many people we have in China. And even a tiny percentage of beings in China actually makes up a great, great number of beings. So if you were to talk about mainstream Buddhism also in terms of population, maybe Pure Land Buddhism actually is mainstream Buddhism. I will not argue about that. But so it's not at odds at all from the Mahayana Buddhist viewpoint. Remember, Mahayana teachings include Theravada teaching. It's a bit like from primary school to university. So in Chinese Tipitaka, the Chinese Buddhist canon, in Chinese is called Qianlong Dazang Jing, Longzang, the dragons, Qianlong, dragon Tipitaka. We also include most of the sutras from Theravada Buddhism. So they make up of the Mahayana teachings as well, like also basic foundational, fundamental teachings. So that's why it's not at odds at all. But it's very common when we meet a Theravada Buddhist and you tell them you practice Pure Land Buddhism, you Nian Fo, you go to this Pure Land created Amitabha Buddha, they will be like, what? They will have no idea. Not only they have no idea, they most likely think this is twisted, this is not Buddha Dharma, you are maybe lying, there is no Buddha called Amitabha Buddha. So I also encounter like similar situations like that. So it's common. We just need to accept it, because from the background, from what they have learned since childhood, maybe, there is only one Buddha called Shakyamuni. If you go to all these temples in Thailand, in Cambodia, most likely you only see one Buddha. You will not even see Guan Yin. Very rare you see a Guan Yin temple. There are actually also Guan Yin temple in Thailand, but most likely if you visit any sort of a main temples in Thailand, you're going to see most likely just Shakyamuni Buddha, and then his senior disciples on the side, and then at most you see a mature Buddha, that the future Buddha will come down later. And that's all. That's because the Theravada teachings only talk about what's happening here in the Saha world. It's so much different from the Mahayana domain. Once you enter into the Mahayana domain, you enter into the entire Dharma realms. You enter into all the cosmos, all worlds in the 10 directions, past, present, and future. You're no longer only confined in the Saha world. Mahayana sutras talk about all the worlds in the 10 directions. And in Mahayana sutras, you often see Shakyamuni Buddha talk about other Buddhas in other worlds. And then why why they don't have this Mahayana sutras in those countries, right? It's due to, from the Buddhist perspective, also due to a karma, like karmic connection. For certain people, their mind, they can only accept this kind of teachings. Then the Buddha will just make the teachings available in that country. I'm not talking about from the conventional viewpoint or because of like a history, and then, this divided, and then this sutras goes to Thailand, and then some sutras go to the China. On the surface, on phenomena, it may look like that, but the reason why all these sutras are there in those countries, and then certain more sutras like in countries like China, in these Mahayana countries, are also because of people's karma and blessings. Talking about the bigger picture here, China has a long history, longest, one of the oldest Asian countries in the world. And from the ancient time, we have always believed, our ancestors, and also we had Taoism, and all this, a lot of teachings were also similar to the Buddha Dharma. So it's much easier for people here to accept, like if you were to talk about Amitabha Buddha, talk about the Pure Land, talk about worlds outside of this earth. It's much easier for people here to believe because this is also in our history, in our traditional culture, in our traditional belief. So it's so much common, so much easier. We have this kind of karma, also have this kind of blessings to receive these higher teachings from the Buddha. It's really like the higher teachings. So for a primary school student, if they have only studied a primary school text, they've only learned about earth, so it's a metaphor, then suddenly a university student tells them, actually, there isn't just earth, there isn't just the solar system, there isn't just a galaxy, there are actually more galaxies out there. The galaxy we live in is like nothing, it's like fine mote of dust. Then this primary school student is going to be like, you gotta be kidding me. This cannot be true. You are lying. So it's only normal, right? The reaction from a primary school student will be like that. So we don't need to really argue with them. Or also, we don't need to be bothered by that. We must not use our narrow-minded perceptions and understandings to judge the Buddha's level and spiritual abilities and capacities. What we know is actually very little. And remember, for Theravada Buddhists, their goal is only to attain arhat. For them to attain an arhat, it's like you are actually a Buddha. But when you actually study the Mahayana text, the Buddha actually tells us, actually, arhat is like a primary school level of enlightenment. Really, 52 stages of the Bodhisattva path. So even if you attain like an arhat, you are really like a primary school student, in the eyes of those highly enlightened bodhisattvas. This is not a goal in Mahayana Buddhism. So it's really a pity, a shame, and also their karma to not be able to see the Mahayana sutras, not be able to study and understand the Mahayana teachings. And, Buddha's teachings come in order. At the beginning, he taught this very simple stuff, like Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, 4 different levels of enlightenment. This is an easy way for people in this world to accept. So he first taught about that. Remember, the Buddha expounded the Dharma for 49 years. And in the first few years, he talked about this. And then later, he talked about shunyata, emptiness. He started to enter into the Mahayana domain. And then towards the end of his life, and those teachings had been hidden a while after he entered into parinirvana for some time, because we know that Buddhism actually was destroyed in India, right? If you're interested in knowing why, you can Google it, search the history. And the school, Nalanda, used to be the top Buddhist academy, university in the world. Nalanda University had a lot of Mahayana teachings. And that university, that temple was completely destroyed, being burned. So that's why in India, we don't see any of this original Mahayana sutras in Sanskrit, because they've been destroyed. Why China got to have so many Mahayana sutras and that are so completely well kept, all really well kept? It was because also this has to do with the history in Chinese Buddhism. So for those who may not understand so much, when Buddhism first came into China, and there is this emperor, he dreamed of this golden Buddha that came into his palace and then told him that to the west, like west to China is like India, there was this holy sage and his teachings will be beneficial for the beings in this land. So please send people to go there and to receive some sutras. And this emperor sent some people to go to the west of China, to India. That's the first time how the Buddha Dharma got to come into China. They were monks, statues of the Buddhas, Mahayana sutras, all this. They were all invited by the emperor. And throughout the history of Chinese Buddhism, a lot of Dharma protectors are actually emperors. Right? These emperors, they were devout Buddhists. They love studying Buddhism. And then they kept sending people to the west of China, to India, to countries like that to attain more sutras. And then also they organized a lot of Buddhist monks to begin with this monumenous task in translation. So a lot of emperors, they were all like maybe bodhisattvas who came back, like who really protects the Dharma, like guards the Dharma in China. And that's why even nowadays we have really complete, really a lot of teachings available in Chinese that are actually completely kept. Maybe not many teachers are exporting them, but still we have this system, like the whole system that was completely kept. And also due to the great contribution of great Dharma masters such as Master Xuanzang, we knew that he traveled to India on foot from China because at that time it was like a bit of wartime when the new dynasty that was just built, like in the Tang dynasty, I think, a new Tang dynasty. And then at that time, he really wanted to go to India because he felt we still missed a lot of sutras. Like he had already studied all the sutras in China. He felt it was still not enough and he needed to go and find more. He wanted to translate all the sutras. So he has such great determination and he set his journey on foot all the way from China to India and crossed many countries. He encountered so many obstacles, difficulties, almost died many times. Also, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas had been protecting him and guiding him. So even before he set his foot to India, he used 3 years to walk from all the way to China to India on foot, 3 years. But actually, before he began his journey, aboard in the Nalanda monastery, the biggest top Buddhist university at that time, the aboard there, he was about to enter into parinirvana because he suffered from some illness and then he didn't want to live in this world. He wanted to discard his body. He was already enlightened, so he could actually exit from his body easily. And then I think it was Bodhisattva Manjusri, Maitreya Bodhisattva, and maybe even Samantabhadra Bodhisattva came into his dream and said, hang on, you should not enter into parinirvana yet. The reason why you suffer from this illness now was because in your past life, you were an emperor and you killed many innocent beings. But because of your contribution to the Buddha Dharma, the fruit of your karma had already been severely reduced. Now you have to actually wait here for 3 years till someone from China, a monk from China that will come to you. He will be your student. You have to teach him everything before you can enter into parinirvana. So Buddhas and Bodhisattva already knew everything. And then Master Xuanzang set his foot all the way to Nalanda University for 3 years. And there in India, he studied for, I think, maybe 14 years or 15 years. And he learned Sanskrit. He learned all these different languages. He's a genius, absolute genius in language. And he received his highest Mahayana teachings from India. And he brought so many sutras back to China. And when he went back to China, he was received by the emperor, like all the way for all these little countries, because the emperor at that time knew that, wow, such a genius is coming back to our home, so we must welcome him. And then after that, he came back, and they also organized like this really huge translation project with thousands of monks. All the top monks are top intelligent linguistics. Like all these people gather together to translate all these Mahayana sutras. So for those who really understand the history of Chinese Buddhism, unfortunately, maybe it's not so much talked about in the West, because not many Chinese Dharma teachers actually export the Dharma in English. Very few people in the West don't really understand so much about Chinese Buddhism. Chinese Buddhism is in fact the oldest after India, because Buddhism is not so much in India anymore. So it's actually now the oldest, most ancient, and most well-kept system with really good lineage and also great Dharma masters that passed down from generations to generations. So we can really trust this authenticity in the teaching and the authority in the teachings. And a lot of these masters, patriarchs, are most likely to be incarnations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that came back. So we really don't need to doubt about this. I definitely have full faith in Chinese Buddhism and Chinese Pure Land Buddhism. I know this is definitely real, definitely true. I have no doubt about this. So for people who don't know so much or know absolutely nothing about Chinese Buddhism, the history, the Pure Land Dharma, best is not to comment so much. Why? Because you're likely committing the fault in slandering the Dharma. Serious offense, serious karmic consequences for you. As a Buddhist, we must not slander the Dharma. Just as any ordinary being, we should not, but particularly for a Buddhist. That's why we should not say things like that if we don't know much. So we have to actually be wary of this. And one will actually really bear serious karmic consequences. This is not to scare people. If you read the Siddhagarbha Sutra, for those who actually slander the right Dharma, you have to actually fall into the abyssal hell. I'm not joking. This includes even for Buddhists. So it's actually dangerous. Sometimes we don't know what we are doing. We don't know how the law of karma works. And we have to really be wary of our speech, our body, mind, and speech. So what happens if next time we encounter someone who we know that they're not going to believe in the Pure Land Dharma? Maybe you already had a discussion with him and then he had this strong detest or dislike in this. Then what we should do is not even to talk about it with them. Why? Because we may actually elicit them to speak something ill about the Dharma and for them to commit in the fault of slandering the Dharma, and that's really not good for their karma. So we don't need to say anything. We just respect whatever they practice, that's good. And then we just practice what we practice. As a Buddhist, we don't need to talk ill about anybody, anything. Particularly also not to Dharma teachers, not to Dharma teachings, not to teachings from other lineages. We definitely respect them all. And then people can choose in accordance to their karma, or actually accordance to the karma, merit, and virtue, whatever they like to practice. So this person basically mentioned, Pure Land sounds like just another heaven. A heaven is still in the samsara. So again, the Pure Land is not another heaven outside of the cycle of samsara. It's the Buddha's land. I have a video about exactly that. And this person thinks life in the Pure Land is still alive. You still will experience birth, old age, sickness, and death. No such thing in the Pure Land, okay? Even birth in the Pure Land is not like birth in the Saha world. By birth in the Saha world, we come out from a very dirty place, actually, if we think about it. Birth in the Pure Land, we are born from the lotus. No such thing as sickness, no such thing as old age, no such thing as death. We are infinite light and life in the Pure Land. Yeah, hard to believe, of course. And then this person said, how come it's so easy to go to the Pure Land? Of course, it's so common for people to think like this. He used this word, how come people can get special treatment to enter into the Buddha's land so easily if it were the Buddha's land? So again, our special treatment really comes from Amitabha Buddha's great vows. Yeah, again, hard to believe, right? Even hard to believe for some people that Amitabha Buddha even exists. let alone to say his great vows. Like people would just think, oh, maybe someone make this up. Really, we don't have time to make anything up like that. And we have really a lot of rebirth cases in China, particularly in China and also other countries. So for those who are interested, you can go and watch more about that. And from ancient China, I'm talking about like even from 1,600 years ago already, first patriarch Master Huiyuan and his 123 disciples all sought rebirth to the Pure Land. So I'm not only talking about rebirth cases only happened just recently, but all the time from ancient time in China until nowadays. And we have a lot of this recorded down in the past in words. At those time, no camera, no videos. And nowadays, also a lot in videos, which I have also shared some. And if you're in the Pure Land temple, you hear these stories like all the time. And people also seek rebirth in Pure Land temples all the time, actually, in Foqi every year. For instance, in Dongling Temple, and also in our temple, we also hear stories like this all the time. And this person also says, even Shakyamuni Buddha still has to die. How come the land the Buddha created can last forever? This is so difficult to believe. So remember, parinirvana is different from normal death. The Buddha didn't die. It's only a performance. He just showed us. He discarded the physical body. This is different from normal people who just died. And I'm surprised, even for a Buddhist can say that. Like a Buddhist think the Buddha's death is like normal death. It's not. If it's like normal death, we don't need to call it parinirvana. Parinirvana is like nirvana without a physical body. Then where is the Buddha? The Buddha has not disappeared. The Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, is still in the Saha world, all the time watching us. 3 bodies of the Buddha, remember, Nimanakaya, Sabokakaya, and the Dharma body, right? So Nimanakaya is like the incarnation body or emanation body of the Buddha that they will show us as an ordinary being to share the Dharma to us. Like if they want to teach us, they need to also appear as someone ordinary, like for Shakyamuni Buddha, as a prince in the world, or still like an ordinary being. Still, they look like us, right? So they need to relate to us in order to teach us. And then the Sabokakaya is like the blissful and the reward body. Sometimes people with deep meditation or they resonate so much with the heart of the Buddha, they may be able to see the rewards body of the Buddha. Like for Shakyamuni Buddha or Amitabha Buddha's reward body is gold, like golden. In the Pure Land, you will also see. And then Dharma body exists everywhere, in everything, also like the Buddha nature. So also a video on that one. And actually in our Lotus family, we have an ex-Theravada monk turned Pure Land Buddhist. So true story. This person, he was born in India and raised in New York. Very interesting background. And went to Thailand to be a monk. Was I think even 3 years. And when he first encountered the Pure Land Dharma, he had the same skeptical, very skeptical. He thought, oh, that is really like the end of the Dharma ending age. Like how can people just make up things like that? So he first encountered it when he went to Malaysia to renew his visa. And he had maybe a meal at this Malaysian or Chinese restaurant. And then they were playing this chant, the Namo Amituofo, Namo Amituofo. And then he heard and he asked, what's this about? And then they said, oh, it's the name of Amitabha Buddha. We recite this so we can go to the Pure Land. This restaurant owner told him. And he was really skeptical. Maybe just like what this person had posted, like this long post. And thought, okay, that is really the degrading of the Dharma. That was also his first impression of the Pure Land Dharma. As time goes by, when he encounters some difficulties with his own practice, he thought it's really difficult to actually realize enlightenment. Is there anything easier? And then all of a sudden, he again encountered the Pure Land Dharma. Like this is what we can call actually science, like from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to try to lead us to the path that suits us the most. And then he kept reading it and kept studying it. I kept researching it. And then he started to generate a little bit of faith. And then he said, when he nianfo for just like 10 times, when he just tried to convince himself to drop his doubt, because he was so touched by how come it could be a being with this so much infinite compassion that can save sentient beings in such an easy way. He was touched by that, also due to his good roots from the past life. And then he recited the name for 10 times, and all of a sudden, all the tears that came from his eyes, tears just pour out from his eyes. And from that moment, he really generated faith in Amitabha Buddha. But he still needed another sign, just like maybe many people, particularly those on the Pure Land path, because we think, since we cannot see the Pure Land with our physical eyes, we cannot see Amitabha Buddha with our physical eyes. We really need more signs to convince us this is actually true. And then he really prayed to the Buddha, he prayed to Guan Yin for more signs. And then one evening in his dream, Guan Yin came to his dream really clearly and delivered a message. It's one word in English. He told me that word, I can't remember. It's not so common like this word, but basically this word means absolutely true. And this is a message from Guan Yin, no doubt. Don't even doubt about that. Don't even doubt with your limited perceptions about the Buddha's level, the Buddha's infinite compassion, and the Buddha's infinite spiritual power and capacities. And it's really from that moment he completely take belief in the Buddha Dharma. And he is also a member in our Lotus family. So maybe in the future, we'll also invite him to share his stories and experience. So yes, it's common. There are many people who don't believe in the Pure Land Dharma, even for Mahayana Buddhists, even for Chan masters. So it's common. We don't need to argue with anybody. And we also respect their opinions, and we don't need to argue with them because we don't really want them to, again, commit slandering the Dharma. So not good for the karma. So best, we just focus on our own practice. And maybe when the time is right, and you also don't need to worry, once they hear this name of Amitabha Buddha, they will definitely be saved. Maybe not in this life. In this life, they need to vow, but future lives, they will be saved. They will one day eventually believe. This is also linked to the first questions, actually. How come we are not in the Pure Land yet? Who knew? Maybe in your past life, you were born in Thailand and you practiced Theravada Buddhism. And then you heard of Pure Land Buddhism for the first time, and then you were really skeptical. So you didn't go. Or maybe you were practicing Chan and you didn't believe, you didn't go. Or maybe you believe it, but somehow you became so much attached to maybe some people in the Sahawa, you didn't go. So many reasons why we didn't go in our past lives. And let's make sure not to miss this rare and precious opportunity in this life. This life, we must generate firm faith. Our faith should be really firm right now, I hope, for all of you. If not, really work on it. And how to work on it for the people could be different. Maybe go and watch more rebirth cases. Maybe go and read more sutras, maybe practicing more nianfo, so you feel more resonate with Amitabha Buddha. But really, according to Master Shandao, really our faith should just be firm because it's the Buddha's words. Buddha will not lie to us. That's it. That's already enough reason for one to generate firm faith. And we must vow to go to the Pure Land because the Pure Land is really one of the best worlds in the entire Dharma realms for anyone that could go to. Because whatever in the Saha world is impermanent. And because if you really love the people here, maybe you love your family so much, you want to be with them forever. There is nothing as forever in the Saha world. Remember, what's forever is at most 80, 90 years. That's all. Or 100. Let's say I give you 200 years. It's still not forever. If you want to be with them forever, you need to go to the Pure Land and also try to also get them to go to the Pure Land. If they don't believe, maybe they are Christian, whatever, from other backgrounds, they don't want to believe, that's fine. You go first. And then you can come back and help them to go in the future. So if you really love your friends and family here, go to the Pure Land. If you want to realize infinite light and life, go to the Pure Land. If you want to realize the ultimate potential as a human being, go to the Pure Land. If you want to enjoy infinite blessings, infinite light and life, go to the Pure Land. Like all the reasons to go to the Pure Land. And we must generate firm faith, vow, and practice in our daily life. Okay, so that's all I'll share tonight. Thank you very much. And does anyone have anything that they'd like to share? We got 3 minutes. Oh, so many messages. Wow. Okay, sorry, I'm missing this. Yes, does anyone want to say something?
Thank you, Jiawen, for a very, very, very nice, informative session. It's a really nice, wonderful group, and I really enjoy the teachings, and it really helps me deeply in my everyday life. You know, I am living here in Japan, and, you know, of course, we do have two schools of the, Pure Land schools here as well. But actually, I don't learn so much from the Pure Land schools here because they don't reach out to non-Japanese people so much. So there's not so many materials, written materials or books or, anything to read. And actually the services they do here, like once a month. But even that, even living in Japan and experiencing a little bit of, the schools here, the Pure Land schools, they never mention things like, rebirth cases. They don't tell us about those. And they hardly talk about anything about, Amitabha, actually, because here they focus on the founder of the school here, which is Honen-san, and his disciple, which is Shinran. So in Japan, they focus more on the founder of the school instead of Amitabha. So here we never even hear about the 3 Pure Land Sutras. So they hardly ever talk about the Pure Land Sutras. We never read them. We never recite them. So for me, actually, even living here, I learned more about the Pure Land practice, from this group and from you, Jiawen. And I'm forever very grateful for that, so it really helps me in my everyday practice. So I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you put in and sharing so much with us and teaching us so much. And I'm really grateful, and I really appreciate it. So I just want to say, thank you very, very much. Amituofo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jacka. And I'm so glad you found it useful. And also, it's actually good you live in Japan. You're also exposed to some Pure Land teachings in Japan. Maybe, like you said, not so much to the Westerners, but at least you got this chance to even hear about the Dharma. Maybe if you were not in Japan, it could be also difficult. Japanese Pure Land Buddhism also has, I think, quite a long history as well. But what I feel for Chinese Buddhism is that we really offers the most complete and comprehensive teachings on the Pure Land Dharma, and directly based from the sutras, like Buddhist sutras. We really seriously talk about all the Buddhist sutras, like Pure Land sutras in details, which I'm also going to do maybe every Sunday evening. After we finish the 10 great vows on Bodhisattva Samudabhaja, we may look at maybe the 48 great vows of Amitabha Buddha, or maybe the 9 grades of rebirth, the Amitabha Sutra. So we'll go through all of them. So then people will have a very clear and comprehensive image, understanding on the Pure Land Dharma. And all the questions people ask to me, like a lot of time, you can definitely find them from the sutras. What I say is also directly from the Buddhist sutras. So it's not made up or anything. So again, thank you for your comment. Yes, I was just reading all these messages here. Yes, it's definitely totally karma. Karma also determines actually which Buddha Dharma we encounter, or which practice, religions, whatever we will encounter in our life, and which teacher we're going to study with. Also our karma, merit, and virtue from our past life. And a question from Gordon: will a person who lived in the Pure Land in a past life necessarily remember it consciously? We don't normally remember past lives. So could someone have been in the Pure Land before but not know it? Okay, if you come from the Pure Land, you will know it. Okay, no doubt. For Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who come back from the Pure Land to help, they would know, but they may not tell you, and they may act like they don't know. Right? You will definitely know. Like from Amitabha Buddha's great vows, it says clearly the 48 great vows. Like one will remember all past lives, and even if they go to other worlds to help, say, sentient beings, they will also know. Maybe at one time, maybe for a certain time, they may not know. Okay, they could be also, let's say, a period of their act that they don't know, but at one point in their life, they will definitely know. Right? This will be totally unlocked, and they know actually, who they are and all this. They know their past lives. Okay, we ordinary beings, we don't know. Don't worry, but once we go to the Pure Land, we will know. You will remember everything. And we also don't need to worry that we don't know our past lives. Maybe best we don't know our past lives, but who knew? Like, we may do so many embarrassing bad deeds we don't actually want to remember. This Theravada, yes, I also addressed, like, I think Theravada system, they did think a hardship just equals to Buddhahood. But again, I'm not an expert in that, but just from what I've read, my understanding is that they think a hardship is kind of like the goal. Like, that's it. Once you attain arhat, that's like the end, game over. Like, whereas for Bodhisattvas, it's like, okay, it's nothing yet. We just begin. Right? So in a way, I think there's a different interpretation of what Buddhahood actually means in these two systems. Yeah, sure. People just do their karma. And I'm really happy to know that there are still 8 million Buddhists in India. Actually, we have quite a few Lotus family members from our group are from India, actually. So I should not say Buddhism doesn't exist in India. It still does. And I'm so glad to hear that. And it's so good that you guys are studying it in Sanskrit, wonderful. In Sutra studies, wonderful. Yeah, again, we don't judge also other religions or other practitioners. Yeah, 2 Chinese Buddhist travelers came to India, definitely 发现 before 玄奘. Yes, definitely right. 发现, I think, went to also Sri Lanka later. The reason why 玄奘 was like the most famous, maybe a lot of people don't even know about 发现. Was because he translated a lot of sutras. A lot of sutras that we read every day was also translated by Master Xuanzang. Master Xuanzang also translated one of versions of the Amitabha Sutra. The Heart Sutra that everyone knows was translated by Master Xuanzang. So, yeah. When I say slandering the Dharma, I mean that when people say this is not true, this is not genuine Buddhist teachings, like this in a way is also considered as slandering the Dharma, because if for whatever other people that see this message and then they believe in what you say, then you literally just block their path towards the right Dharma and the Buddhahood. And this has serious karmic consequences. That's why I say one bears karmic fruit like that. Like sometimes if I see comments like that on my videos, I'm going to delete them, not because I get bothered by them. I don't care what people say, but it's just because if other people see this and then they believe in that, this also adds to one's bad karma because you mislead someone on not believing in the right Dharma. Yeah. So slandering the Dharma doesn't mean that you need to have like a fierce argument, but just if you say this is not the right Buddhist teaching, in a way, it counts. Okay, that's a lot of comments, wonderful comments. Thank you. All right, I think our time is totally up and we went a little bit over time. So again, thank you everyone for coming, and I hope to see you on Sunday. We're going to talk about the 3rd great vow of Bodhisattva Samadabhadra, to extensively cultivate making offerings. So thank you everyone. Amitofo.